When were the good old days? Are your best days behind you, or are your best days yet to come? Or are you living your best days right now? Well, I put the question out to you, and I'm going to be going through your responses. 2008 to 2016 and 2025. I've turned my life around as an adult, mostly, and there's moments when I feel amazing. Other times I feel absolutely horrible, but I know I'm moving in the right direction. Where was I in 2008? I think I had just finished school. So those were the good old days, if any. Looking back at my times as an adolescent, having fun, going out skateboarding. But just like Duke the Duke says, I think that today are also my best days because I'm doing the things that I want to be doing. I'm working towards things I never thought that I would be able to work towards, or I was too scared to work towards back then. And I'm alive today. That's what I'm really thinking about when I think about when were the good old days. I like to think that they are today because I'm alive today. It doesn't matter about the things I've done in the past, it matters about what happens today. For me, 2004 to 2008, I long for it every day, and I think that's what's holding me back. I think that nostalgia can hold you back because if you think that the past was always better, you're never going to be satisfied in the now. If you want to just think about the things that used to make you happy, they might not make you happy anymore because you've changed, you've gotten older. You might not even actually like those things anymore. Or you're not in the same position that you used to be in. You had less responsibilities back then, and that might make it feel like that past experience was a bit more rosy than it really was. But that's the power of nostalgia for you. Maybe those years weren't as great as you think they were. It's just you miss the feeling of being your younger self. 1990 to 2010, roughly the first 20 years of my life. And I think a lot of people feel that same way. That's pretty much the good old days for anyone. Looking back at their previous times in their life, it's those first 20 years when it feels like those were the good old days. And I think that's because that's before time feels like it really speeds up. When you're a kid, a day feels like an eternity. Doing something next week feels like that is an age away. That's years away in your head. And then I really feel like since turning maybe 28, time has sped up tremendously. And I think that contributes to that feeling of the good old days being your first 20 years on Earth. Because everything feels like it was longer. It feels like everything you experienced was better. But really, it's just a smaller part of your life these days. I think things are still just as consequential to you, and they can be just as amazing to experience. It's just that the past felt longer, and now you've got that rosy retrospection, that nostalgia looking back. 1985 to 2012. And then there's a response here. Nothing after 2012, I'd say. So for me, 2012 was that year where I was 20 years old. And that coincides with the previous message that it was those first 20 years of my life that felt more important. So maybe for me, that's when I crossed the threshold and life just started going a little bit quicker and felt a little less important to me. But there's also these other factors like housing prices going crazy. Things are so expensive now. And you might look back to 2012 as sort of the point where things started getting a little bit out of control. Things just feel a little bit harder now. It feels harder to get a job now. I think if I was to lose my current job, it feels like it's really competitive out there to get any sort of job. Unless I'm going for a care home job, helping others, wiping bums, whatever. Those jobs I think are still easy to get because no one really wants to do them. I don't want to do them either. If I wanted to get any other specific job, I think that it would be really difficult for me to get that job. And the jobs where I find that it's easier to get jobs are those high turnover jobs. Where I work in education, people quit all the time. So they're always looking for new people. Care homes are always looking for new people. But those aren't very high paying jobs. And not many people want to do them. Mostly the mid-90s, but with the summer of 1996 being the best old days. Since 2002, my life has been on a downward trajectory. There was a peak period from 2012 to 2016, and now it's just blah. Still, I'm trying to improve and won't stop. Mayhap, the best is yet to come. And there is a response here. relatable. For me, it's been downwards since the early 2000s as well. Let's turn things around. With strength of will, mindset is everything. You see, I could follow that mindset, and I did for a while. When I was diagnosed with my inflammatory bowel disease, it really felt like these are the end times for me. I'm on a downward trajectory now. I was going towards my 30s. I'm in my 30s now. My health's going to be in decline. Things are only going to get harder. And if in my early 20s things are already this sucky, I've been diagnosed with this bowel disease, then what's the future going to have in store? But little did I know that there are medications out there that stop you from flaring, that enable you to be your best self. Without this medication, my quality of life would be so much worse. I might even have bowel cancer if I didn't have these medications, because I'd just be out of control flaring. So I think for me, it is that strength of will. You can do it, you can overcome it. And maybe you might not be in as good a position as you were before. You know, I don't earn anywhere near as much money as I did when I was doing video work for the NHS. But I'm happy now. Even though I don't have that money, I'm happy now. And that's all that matters. Good days for what? For gaming, it was 2000 to 2015. For business and wealth, 1960s to 1980s. For community and societal health, 1990s. For internet engagement, 2018 to present. So this is an interesting one. Let's take a look. So for gaming, it was 2000 to 2015. Well, I see a lot of people say the past was better. The games from the early 2000s were peak gaming. And really, is that just nostalgia? Is it just the fact that you were younger back then and those games felt better? Yes, there's a lot of games that are live services now. There's that whole Stop Killing Games initiative. Games that you get on Steam, they could disappear because you don't really own them. But some of those games are still fantastic. I was just looking at a bunch of games that I've got. Call of Duty 2019, that game still looks fantastic and is really fun to play still to this day. Why is GOG open? You got Counter-Strike. I know that game's been around for a really long time. There's a lot of games that actually are pretty fantastic and came out in recent years. And I know you've been able to play games online forever, but with Discord it's never been easier to just jump into a game. But there are older games where you click them, you click play, you're into a game. And I love that aspect of it. If I want to jump into a game of COD, there's going to be a bloody 20 gigabyte update before I can launch the game. And there's updates all the time. You know, sometimes I don't want to have to update a game just to play Team Deathmatch, which hasn't been updated anyway. Just like, oh, here's a bunch of skins, now you've got to download the update. It's irritating. So I can see that aspect. It's kind of like a balancing act. There are great aspects about older games, but there are aspects about newer games that are just better. For business and wealth, 1960s to 1980s. Well, I don't know much about business and wealth, so I can't really say anything. But I mean, we've got instant access to investing. You don't have to phone up like people of the past. You can just get an app on your phone and be like, I'm going to put money in that business. I'm going to put money into the S&P 500. And it's really bloody easy. I know for general wealth building, you know, working, it's actually harder to buy a house and all that stuff. But investing wise, it's actually really easy now with apps and that sort of thing. And for the entrepreneurial type, it's never been easier to make loads of money on the internet. I'm not someone who has done that, but there's plenty of people you can find. You've probably been suggested them on YouTube. They'll be like, I made X doing this. There's loads of people like that, and they wouldn't have even been able to have done that in the past. So there's a lot of opportunities now. For community and societal health, 1990s. Hard for me to say because I was a baby in the 1990s. And a lot of you may not have even been born yet. But I can see what this person is getting at. There was, you know, we didn't have us all on the internet back then. The internet was a bit new. So you had to go and meet up in person. I will say that just from my own lived experience, going back 15 years, I did meet a lot more people in the real world than I do today. I spend a lot of time talking to people online now. Is it the same? It's not quite the same, but still, I have a good time playing with my friends and I can play with them every night, meet up online. But they're not people I ever see in real life, you know, or very rarely. So there are other people It's different people, it's different sets of friends that I only see in person and I don't really talk to online. I think you have to almost fight for that space. If you want to talk to people in the real world or have that community space outside of the internet, you kind of have to go out and get it. You have to go out and find it, find those people. For internet engagement 2018 to present, I'm not really sure what this person means. What do you mean by internet engagement? I mean, I've been on the internet since way before 2018. And I think YouTube, in terms of engagement, what does that mean? Like watching a video, enjoying a video? I think that back before there was the For You page, before TikTok and all that, when I would just be given the people I subscribed to, their content, I followed people more. Whereas now I think it's easy to get caught up in noise. It's easy to get caught up in watching content that you don't really care about. Content that just gets pushed to you like shorts, whatever it is, and you just watch them. And then you don't really feel anything afterwards. You just watched a short and that was it. Whereas before I was able to like follow along with people's journeys, as it were. Like they would upload, I don't know, once a day, once a week, and I would watch every single one because it would get pushed to me. Whereas now I might even forget about some people I subscribe to because they just don't get pushed to me. If I don't watch a couple of their videos, they're gone. And then it'll just be one day where I think, I want to look this person up, see what they've done. And I haven't seen any of their videos pushed to my page at all. So I think internet engagement wise, again, it's a balancing act. It's different now. It's completely different to how it was. And I think in a lot of ways, I prefer how it used to be. But you do get pushed very interesting videos now. I do sometimes get pushed things where I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And it's a lot easier to find smaller people and videos that are genuinely good that you probably wouldn't have seen before this current system. So there's wins and there's losses with this system. Don't think the good old days were as good. I have nostalgia for times that were bad, but I remember them fondly. Maybe because everything sucks now and is boring. You know what? This is very relevant to me. And I've been working on a script actually. Why is life so boring now? Because it can feel like that. But just like that person said, I have nostalgia for the bad times. I've talked about that in videos as well, where when I was in hospital for my IBD, and I'm nostalgic for it now. It seems a bit crazy because I'm in hospital, I'm not in a good state, but now I'm nostalgic for being looked after and playing on my laptop from the hospital bed, playing with my guild in World of Warcraft. Like that person said, were the good old days really as good? Probably not. I've already said this earlier in the video. It's probably just that feeling of, oh, I wish I was young again. Well, that will never happen again. So you might as well enjoy today. These are the good old days. Why not enjoy them? 1939 to 1945. Do I really need to say anything more? Before they taught me how to read and write and tell the time. So I know that's a bit hyperbolic, taking it to the extreme. But what I take from that is that ignorance is bliss. And I say this quite often, that sometimes I just wish I didn't know certain things. It's like, it's a burden of knowing. When you find out certain things, you're like, I wish I didn't know that. I wish I didn't know about the environment. I wish I didn't know about these polluting things people are doing. I was happier before I knew those things, and I can't do anything about those things anyway. So why do I need to know? After 2013, the world just seemed to change for the worse. And then someone says this. So I think that's just a negative mindset, isn't it? There's always negative things going on in the world. There's always bad things if you're looking for bad things. I mean, you don't even have to look. You'll get pushed it in the news, you'll get pushed it whatever social media you're on, especially Twitter. You'll get pushed things that are bad. But it doesn't mean that the world is a bad place now. If anything, I'm quite excited for the future. When you watch those movies about the future and they've got this crazy technology, I can see that happening now. I think that the future's going to be very exciting. I just feel like I'm not going to live long enough to see how cool it is. So here's a very interesting one. COVID days for me, unlike most. Now, I have said before that I actually have quite a lot of fond nostalgia for my times during lockdown because I had no responsibilities. I had less responsibilities than when I was in school because I didn't even have to go to work. The government here gave us a grant if you were self-employed. There's a self-employed grant. If you've missed out on income, you get a percentage of your income. And I think that was like, how long was that? Maybe 3 to 6 months of that? Wow, time flew by during lockdown, but I did have a lot of fun playing a lot of video games. And I am deeply nostalgic for it. I invested myself into games like Valheim. I invested myself into games like World of Warcraft. And overall, just had a fun time. It was good times. Warzone, that was fantastic during lockdown. It was peak times if you were a gamer. Now, if you weren't a gamer, they probably weren't as fun. Never. There were no good old days for this person. Well, if I had to say something to that person, it is to think about what are things that are going okay for you. What are things that are actually never. She just cut.